Online searches in Northern Ireland for dog rescue and rehoming groups increased by 160% in 2022. This indicates that more and more people are choosing to use dog shelters and rehoming facilities, which could indicate a growing problem. More dogs are being abandoned and neglected. So how do we combat this? Let's meet the people who are trying to make a difference in our community by caring for our furry friends. I'm outside one of the most popular animal shelters and rehoming facilities in the North Coast, Bunvarden Animal Rescue Kennels, a registered charity that deals with the rescuing and rehoming of animals. Hiya, my name's Amy and I'm currently making a documentary on the topic of dogs in shelters and rehoming facilities. I reached out to Bunvarden a few weeks ago to arrange an interview. Unfortunately, they agreed. So yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, yeah. See you then. Okay, bye.
My name is Sean McIntyre and I'm the charity coordinator for Bunvarden Kennels. My job entails sorting out the charity side of things and keeping the kennels running, fundraising, all the administration that comes with the charity, and I also do all the maintenance and upkeep of the place as well. I have been here for about 12 years, full time for about 6 of those. I was working abroad before then, and I was only just back at the weekends. But about 6 years ago, I took a bit of time off work to come here to help out, and I've been here ever since. It's the dog wardens would bring the majority of the dogs here that would be strays, unwanted, abandoned. So we cover the Causeway Coast and Glens area, and that covers from City of Derry Airport around as far as Larne. Dog wardens would bring the dogs in, and they have their own kennel blocks for the dogs to go into, where the dogs will stay for 7 days to give the owner a chance to reclaim them. If they're not reclaimed after the 7 days, they then become the charities for rehoming. There's dogs that come in injured in medical care quite a lot. We have one here at the minute. It came in last week, and within 10-15 minutes of it coming in, one of the staff discovered it could barely breathe. We phoned our vets, got our vets out straight away, and it needed an emergency operation. And it went in the next morning, had the emergency operation, and it's now back with us and doing well. The main thing here is the main thing that keeps the place going is fundraising. It's like a double-edged sword, whereby a lot of our time is devoted to looking after the dogs, but again, because we're not funded by any bodies, we run entirely on donations, we have to sort of split our time between looking after the dogs and doing fundraising as well. So it's that keeps the place going. So anybody that can come up with any ideas for fundraising or anything like that, then you're more than welcome to get in touch.
I reached out to a local vet who has worked with places like Bunvarden in the past to ask them about the process of caring for homeless, injured animals.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm recently a registered veterinary nurse, so I've just qualified there a few months ago. So the job of a veterinary nurse covers a whole lot of stuff. So we do everything from nurse clinics, so you can come into a nurse to see, get your dog's nails clipped or anal glands done, which is a great job. We monitor anaesthetics, we draw blood, we place IV catheters. There's a lot more to the role than people think. So we would be down in the kennels with the dogs, feeding them, getting them out for walks, making sure everything's running smoothly, fluids are running, all those kind of things. So obviously, if we've got a really sick dog down the back, particularly if it is like a stray dog that's been hit by a car, it does require quite a bit of nursing care, obviously depending on what injuries it's received. So things like even just getting it out to the toilet if it's injured can be difficult sometimes. We have slings and things to help them walk. But we obviously don't want them just lying in their kennel and going to the toilet all the time. So trying to get them just in and out to the toilet can be a task. Eating is another thing. They've been through a trauma, and now they're in this unfamiliar environment. So whether they even would, if they were at home, they would probably eat fine. In here, sometimes they're stressed and they're worried, and you have to try and get them to eat, because especially if they're injured, eating's really going to help them heal. It can be quite rewarding, I suppose, when we're talking about stray and injured dogs. It's a really nice part of the job when there's a happy ending for that, because we see a lot of, particularly with strays, where they've come in and they've been hit, and there's no one to kind of contact for permission to refer. So this is a general practice. So if there is bones broken that maybe need surgery on, that would be a referral, which is not going to happen if it's a stray, because it's being sent off to a hospital practice. No one likes to talk about the payment aspect of things, but we do try and treat strays, but it is also, we don't have an NHS for pets. So, I mean, I think people think vet practices are just swimming in money. The overheads for a vet practice are extortionate. So we don't actually make that much money. And I know prices going up and everything. So it is something we have to be conscious of. We can't keep every stray that comes in. We try and avoid it. If it's healthy, we would send it on. But yeah, it's a lovely part of the job when you've had, and which we've had before, we've had a stray in and it's been injured and we've got it back on its feet and maybe got it rehomed, and then you see it come back, and it's really nice. So it's one of the nice parts of the job, I must say.
Although the tireless work that the vet and the shelter staff put in to care for these animals would all be for naught if it wasn't for the people who adopted from these shelters. I reached out to 2 people who have adopted dogs from shelters like Dunbarton to speak to them about the process of adoption, and my favourite part, getting to meet their dogs.
My dog is called Monty, and he's about 11 years old. He's a cross between an Irish Wolfhound and a Chocolate Labrador.
My dog is called Frank, and we think he's 10, but we're not sure, because when we rescued him, they were like, he is either 3 or 5. There's a big difference between those numbers, but he's old. He's a mix between a Jack Russell and a sausage dog.
The first step was finding the dog, and that was just, I saw him on a post from Rainbow Dog Rehoming on Facebook, and then I contacted them because we had got our previous 2 dogs from the same home, and we just contacted her, went to see him, and I walked away with him that very day, after paying their fee.
We got him from the local shelter in Coleraine. He was initially rescued with 2 other dogs who are called Finn and Mimi, who my grandparents were looking after for a bit, and then Mimi had to get returned because she was too aggressive. We've had Frank for about 7 years now, since I started high school, just before that. So we've had him quite a while.
He is quite a big dog, and he was owned by a woman who was agoraphobic, and he had never been out of the back garden. He had never been, he had only ever been in the house or the back garden, and he just became an absolute handful, and he hadn't been walked and he hadn't been trained, so he had to be rehomed basically.
Let's see. Me and my brother kept asking my parents for a dog, and my dad was like, "What kind of dog?" And we were like, "A sausage dog called Frank," after the Frankfurter sausage. And this went on for several years until I actually moved into a house where we could have a dog. And my parents went to the local shelter, and this one little dog crawled into my mom's lap and just sat there for like the full time they were there, and they were like, "This is the dog." And then we found out he was actually half sausage dog, so it's like, it's fate. I'm not 100% sure how he came to be at the rescue shelter, but he was rescued with another 2 dogs, and I think they were all being neglected, but I think one of them was being used for breeding because she was a purebred Pomeranian. And the other 2 were just sort of neglected. So he was very skinny when we got him. And now he is fat.
Monty was a registered therapy dog with Pets as Therapy. So he had gone through training, he had been insured and everything else. And I brought him in, and at that time we had some students who were going through some sort of mental health difficulties, and we brought him in and we basically put him in a room alone with the students. And nearly every time the students come out of the room with a big smile on their face. And he's a brilliant dog. He's very sensitive to people's emotions, and if he feels that somebody is feeling low, he will go over and like climb up on top of you and like, try and cheer you up. He's trained to be like that, so and he's been like that ever since. So
when we first got Frank, he was really scared of me because I had earmuffs on and he didn't know what kind of creature I was because I looked weird. So he hid in the corner and growled at me, and then my brother was scared of the dog because the dog was growling. But then I gave him some bacon flavoured dog treats and he was like, I like you now. Yeah. I love my dog a lot. I think he's very cool.
Because of people like the ones we've met, dogs are getting off the street and into loving, caring homes. Without these people, where would we be? Personally, it doesn't bear to think about it. If you're ever thinking of getting a dog, whether it be your first, or second, or 20th, maybe consider adopting, because there are plenty of dogs out there who are in need of a loving, caring home, just like this one here.